Hello everybody, welcome and thanks for joining us for another video. We've got Kevin Boyer here from TRP and we are going to be learning about some exciting new brakes. So let's dive in, learn about the details and how these new powerful stoppers are going to perform on the trail. Kevin, take it away. What are we looking at and what is improved?
Sweet. Yeah, so we took the platform of our current DHR Evo, which is a great brake on the market, kind of set the standard for power, consistency, and modulation. Took the feedback from the consumers and racers the past couple years and developed the Evo Pro. We're going to start out with the clean cockpit. So now the hose routing comes parallel to the bar out of the brake lever. So if you are doing internal headset routing or just want a cleaner cockpit in general, just comes parallel to the bar. The next feature is the pad activation dial. So this will adjust where the lever bite point is. So if you are one of those riders that likes to run the lever a little closer to the bar, you can dial this in, get a nice solid lever feel. If you want a little bit more modulation, you can back that off and have more modulation. We also updated the shifter brake integration. So one of the bigger complaints on the last brake was you can only put the shifter inboard side. Now we have two different adapters that are universal on left or right, so you can do the shifter either on the inboard side or the outboard side, depending on how you like it.
Any other bits of feedback in terms of performance, right? I think those are more comfort and setup side of things from a performance standpoint. Any changes or improvements there?
We still have our classic, very soft lever feel, so it's very easy to pull. It's a pretty progressive power ratio, so it's not on and off. It does have great modulation. We did change the ergonomics and mechanics a little bit, so it is a little bit more powerful than the current DHR Evo.
Okay. And then fluids. What are you guys running in here? Still the same?
TRP mineral oil. Yep, we always recommend in all of our brakes running our TRP mineral oil. It does have a higher boiling point and is a little less viscous.
Okay. And then brake rotors.
So the race rotor, it's a new designed rotor, came out 7 or 8 months ago. One of the complaints from the racers is they wanted maximum performance first turn on a race start, right? And how you get that performance is heating up the rotor. So our new rotor is going to heat up quicker, but also manage the heat better. So the surface area between the holes is going to be smaller, so it heats up quicker, but it also manages the heat better and dissipates the heat quicker.
Now, for a skeptical person like myself, I kind of have a hard time thinking about like, well, if something heats up faster, that means it's just going to get hotter by the end of the run. How does that not happen with these brake rotors?
You have to imagine like a pan. So if you get like a small egg pan, it's going to heat up quick, but it's also going to dissipate heat quicker. Okay. A bigger pan is going to take longer to heat up, and it's going to take longer to dissipate that heat. Okay. So the smaller surface area between the holes is actually beneficial for both heating up to get that maximum performance and managing the heat better with the holes cooling it down. So
okay. Now, as far as just the rotor, right? I mean, that's only one part of the heat management system, right? That heat obviously then gets transferred through the pistons into the caliper and then up right through the fluid. Did you guys do much testing to kind of, I guess, corroborate, but also learn what this rotor and the new brake does under a race run or just an extended descent on an e-bike perhaps versus your last DHR Evo brake?
Yeah, so it's the same caliper as our previous DHR Evo brake. Through the testing and developing the caliper, we used little heat stickers on the caliper that tell you what the caliper temperature gets up to. The past couple years developing this rotor, that's how we came about with needing whatever heat management is that sticker, putting it on there, using different rotors. Came up with the recipe to have a rotor that heats up quicker but manages the heat better.
Okay, all right, so you didn't see any changes really in where the overall temperature was. It just gave better performance quicker and managed that more evenly throughout the run, so to speak?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't spike so early in the run. It just manages it on like a longer course.
Okay, all right. And then moving into on-trail feel, obviously we're gonna have some more time videos to get into the brakes and how they perform and keep them for a long-term review, but what are some of the test riders and the athletes who've been on this stuff been saying about it comparatively to that outgoing DHR?
Great power. It is a little bit more powerful, but again, it's progressive power, so it has great modulation. So you can feather that brake and get a little bit of power out of it, or you can pull that lever hard and get your maximum power out of it. The lever pull is very light like it used to be. So if you don't have super strong hands, I mean, you have to imagine if you're pulling that brake, hundreds of times on like a 35 or 100-foot descent. If it's a little bit harder to pull, your hand's going to naturally get fatigued. You're going to get arm pump. So having that nice soft lever pull is a huge benefit, and what riders tend to point out.
Okay. Will the DHR Evo remain in the line?
Yes, it will.
Okay. And where do you think this is going to fit in? Like, if a consumer is not sure what brake to buy, where does this kind of fit in between that DHR Evo?
If you want all the features and you do run that lever close to your bar, the new Evo Pro is going to be your brake of choice.
Okay.
Having that pad activation dial just helps you dial in that, bite point when you do get closer to the bar, and just a little bit more adjustment in general.
Okay. And some of the changes have given this more power then as well.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then moving into, I guess, some of the questions I personally have, I've been a fan of the DHR Evo. Well, I don't think we need to hide that. We've done reviews, and I really like that brake a lot. I'm very excited about the pad adjustment capability and getting the brakes a little bit more where I want them to be, especially on the cockpit with shifter and dropper post. That's awesome. But other brakes have come out and have huge power claims and are in fact very, very powerful. But reliability, serviceability, longevity of use for an owner, where do these brakes stand? Are they going to be as good as the DHR Evos that I love?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're using the same caliper, so it's going to have the same bleed procedure, pushing fluid through, 360-degree routing throughout the whole caliper, so it's very easy to get the air bubbles out of the caliper. It's going to manage heat well, and then on the lever side, yeah, it's going to be very consistent, easy to bleed, and easy to maintain. It is very powerful brake, but it is, again, a progressive power, so a bit more usable power. It's not going to be so off and on. If you're skidding your tire, you're not necessarily slowing down. You kind of want to be able to control that speed and not lock up the rear end.
And from bleeding standpoint, if people have DHR Evos or other TRP brakes, will bleed kits and fluid all work, or do they need to buy all new stuff?
Nope. Old bleed kit and bleed funnel and oil is the same as the DHR Evo across the board. You can use it on your Tektro brakes that are on your entry-level bike up to your high-end Evo Pro brake. So,
and then from a bleeding standpoint and procedure, we're going to actually do a second part to this video, which will be a full install with some really cool and useful tips from Kevin. But the inside architecture and design of the brakes, right, can create some problems for end users if they're cavernous, or air bubbles can sit there and you're just an at-home mechanic trying to bleed a brake. How are these going to be for the at-home mechanic as far as holding air, being tricky, having inconsistent lever feel?
All of our brakes come pre-bled with an easy plug system. So on the hose, it's all pre-bled, comes with like a barb. If you happen to run your cable at full length out of the AM package box, don't even have to cut the line. You can just use this barb. 95%, 99% of the brakes, you're gonna have to cut it. Super easy to cut, plug into your brake, and then you just do a quick lever purge and piston massage, which we'll show you. That'll get the final air out of the system. Okay. In the future, if you have to bleed your brake, replace pads or anything like that, we have an awesome service video tab on our website. Go check that out. It'll walk you through the whole process. And if you do have questions beyond that, you can just give us a call or shoot us an email.
And then I feel like through just chatting with you before, I think some of the design features inside the brake, you talked about not having any 90-degree bends inside. Everything's kind of more like a 45, so that air and oil can flow through a little bit more freely. Is that a factor in the long durability, I should say?
Yeah, that's correct. On the current caliper that we were using on the DHR Evo, that's how this one came about. Is the old one had like a U shape, and so some air would get stuck in certain nooks and crannies of the caliper. So eliminating all harsh corners, 90-degree bends, going to a 45-degree and 360 degrees to push the fluid all the way around the caliper to help get all the air bubbles out makes it a lot easier on the bleed process.
Right on. Well, any other final thoughts? Pricing and availability.
They will be available, should be available at your local dealers now.
Okay.
Yeah, and then pricing, they're going to be $299.99, starting out with the gold and then trickle down from there. And our current DHR Evo has dropped in price, actually. So instead of upping the price on the Evo Pro, it just took the place of the DHR Evo, lowering the price of the DHR Evo to make it a little bit more affordable for everyone.
Okay, yeah, and that's something I forgot, actually. There are going to be 3 colors available.
Yes, that is correct. So there's going to be the gray silver,
okay,
there's going to be the gold, and then full black.
Okay, so, and prices change for each of those
that is
colors.
Correct. Yep.
So along with the 3 colors, new race rotor sizes, what do those run in?
203 and 220 for the race rotor.
Okay. And old rotor will still work in this brake, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And rotor does not come with the brakes.
Nope, it's separate. Yep, so you can build up your kit if you want 203 front and rear, or 220 front and rear, 203 rear, 220 front. You can do whatever you want.
All right. Well, thanks very much. Again, appreciate it. And leave any questions you have down below, and make sure you check out the install video. And also, where can they head if they have more questions or want to learn more about the product?
TRPcycling.com. We have plenty of service videos on there and information. If you don't find an answer, go and shoot us an email at info@trpcycling.com.
Killer. All right, Kevin. Well, thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem.